160. Those who would like to follow in their Chumoshim, Parshas Vayetze is in the book of Bereshis, chapter 28, verse 10, is where the Parsha begins. This is actually a continuation from last week. Those who remember last week, at the end of last week's Parsha, Yitzchak, if you want to take one page earlier, on verse 5 of the end of last week's Parsha, it is Yitzchak who sends off his son, Yaakov, and he sent him to find a wife. Vayelech Padano Aram. Isaac sent Jacob off, and he went to Padan Aram. Who lived in Padan Aram? Lavan. Lavan was the father-in-law of Yitzchak, which is actually the Zaydi of Yaakov, who was the son of Besuel Arami, the brother of Rivka, the mother of Yaakov in Esau. The Torah gives us a whole list again. And he went there to find a wife. He told them, actually, I do not want you to marry any girl from the Canaan. This was the end of last week's parsha called Toldot. Yaakov listens to his father, and this is what the parsha is called Vayetze. Vayetze means he left, he went out. That's in Hebrew the word of Vayetze. Yaakov leaves. Where does he go out from? From Be'er Sheva. He leaves from Israel, not like his father, who wasn't allowed to leave the country, because, as our sages tell us, he was considered a sacred offering. He was displayed on the altar during the Akedah, the famous story of the binding of Isaac. So he was considered like holy, that outside of Israel was not an option. Therefore, we had to go through the whole to-do with the matchmaker, Eliezer.
Outside of Israel, and what boundaries?
Outside of Israel was the boundaries. There was
no, which was what he.
You want to hear the old geographical boundaries now?
No, but I mean,
Padan Aram, Choron was definitely outside of the boundaries. Modern day, either Kurdistan or Turkey, and that area bordering with Iraq. One of those troubled locations. They're not troubled today, but from the more general troubled locations. And he went to Choron. And why is he going? He's going to find a shidduch. We all know another journey. So this week's Torah portion, basically the entire parsha, I should say, will all be devoted to discuss the story of Jacob. The journey, the dreams, the marriages. He thought he was going to find the one wife. He ended up being given two wives. And the birth and obviously the building of a family, which Yaakov married her to see in Choron, outside. Everything happened outside of Israel. No Israelis there. Everything was happening outside of Israel. Gave birth, a lot of kids. We're going to learn about 12 kids who are being born because they read their names and why they were named the way they were named. It was not just random names, some flower in Hawaii, or today when I name children by the Torah and I ask them, the parents, who is it? What's the meaning of that name? Kite or whatever, an ancient flower in specific, who knows, whatever. But they say in Yiddish, "Das sein zu gesund." But in the good old days, until today, in traditional families, names usually carries meaning. And the names of Reuven, every name is described in detail in this parsha. That's why it's important to study the parsha and to see exactly the naming and what happened and so on. But I would like to discuss, like I said, we want to concentrate on one subject. So the subject which I'm going to concentrate upon is the arrival of Jacob in Haran. I'm not going to talk about the family and the marriages, and we can see all we can talk about these amazing stories and their lessons and their insights. Let's go skip the dreams. We are arriving to Haran. So turn, if you are living in Chumash, turn to chapter 29, verse 1. It also have the same Chumash I'm using. It's on page 172, 73 in the English. It says the pasuk, Vayisa Yaakov Raglov, Vayelech Artzo Bnei Kedem. Yaakov lifted up his feet. What do you mean he lifted up his feet? Obviously, you walk, you lift up your feet. But as Rashi tells us, he found it very easy and swift in his way, and he made his way towards the land of the people of the east. Vayar, and here he saw Ve'ine Be'er Basod. He saw, and behold, there was a Be'er. Be'er is a well, and the well was in the field. Ve'ine Sham Shloisho Edrei Tzoin Roiftzim Oleo. And there were 3 flocks of sheep were lying beside it, beside the well. Kiminam be'erahi yashku adorim, because this is the well which would give water to the flocks to drink. But what the issue? What was the issue? There was a huge rock on the mouth of the well. Why was there a rock? So the commentaries say that there could be 2 purposes for the rock. One is the obvious purpose when you have a well, you don't want anybody, children, people coming by, and God forbid, bending down towards the well and then finding themselves inside the well. We don't want anyone to fall into the well. The other issue is that you don't want any articles, any objects falling into the well and then either getting lost or contaminating the water. So there was a big, huge rock, and the rock is covering the well. Usually, says the next verse, "V'ne'esfu shama kol ha'adorim, v'golelu es ha'eben mi'al pi ha'be'er, v'hishku es ha'tzoin, v'yishivu es ha'eben al pi ha'be'er limkoimo." When the flocks was gathered there, they would roll the rock off the mouth of the well and give water to the sheep. And then they would again return the rock into the mouth of the well to its place. That's how they used to do it every single day. But here they are just standing by those 3 shepherds with their flocks. Yaakov says to them, Achai, my brothers, me'ayin, where are you from? It's interesting. I guess it's a good way to begin a conversation. You come over, hey brother, how you doing? You ever heard this expression in America? Makes you a little comfortable, or maybe something very uncomfortable. But you heard it in Morocco too. Very good. My brother, myself. Okay. So the fact that somebody tells you brother is already a gesture kind of, which is an inviting voice and a friendly voice, which I guess led into conversation. And then, as you see later in the verse, they say, from Choron, and he says, do you know Lavan, the son of Nochor? And they obviously say, yes, we do. And he asks, how's he doing? And they say, he's doing great. And behold, Rachel, the son of Lavan, is actually making your way also with your sheep. Here comes verse 7. Vayomer, hey noid ayoim gadol. Jacob says to the shepherds who were lying before the well, he says, it is still in the middle of the day. Lo yesh osif mikne. It's not time to take in the flock. Why are you lying here? Go to the pasture. Seems like you're waiting for something. Ashku atzoin lechureu. They responded, sorry, we can't go. What are we waiting for? We need to gather all the flocks together, and then basically it's a very, very heavy rock. And it's such a heavy rock that we cannot do it alone. We are three. We need to have more than three. We need to have everybody in the surrounding areas, which all coming to gather water for their sheep. Once they all come, then can we together roll off the rock, and then we can give the water for the sheep and continue to the pasture. This is Rachel. I'm going to skip that part of the story, but I want to come to what happens to the water. Verse 10. I'm going to read one more verse. Vayehi, and it was. Kashero Yaakov is Rachel. And Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Lavan, his uncle, his mother's brother. And he saw Lavan Achimoy. He saw the sheep, which belongs to Lavan, again, his uncle. Vayigash Yaakov. Then Yaakov stepped forward. Vayogel Esoheven mialpia be'er. And he just rolled the rock off the mouth of the well. Basically, you waiting to gather a whole chabura, a whole group of people to try to push it off. Went and rolled it off. Rashi says, matter of fact, the way he rolled it off, says Rashi, an expression like lifting up, like removing a cork from a bar. Cork. Can you imagine? A rock that needs so many shepherds. The shepherds are not usually weak people. They got to take care of sheep. They must carry some strength, some energy. And they're waiting. Sorry, we can't. And here comes Yaakov, and without any support, without any assistance, just lifts up the stone, and he is helping water the sheep of his uncle, Lavan. This is the story. Here I want to stop. We have every year, we have a special prayer, which is called the prayer for rain. Mm-hmm. We usually do it according to Jewish tradition and law. We do it we recite the prayer on the day after Sukkot. During Sukkot, nobody wants rain. You want to sit in the sukkah and able to enjoy the holiday. The day after Sukkot is called Shmini Atzeret. Mm-hmm. In Israel, it's actually called also Simchas Torah. Here we are splitting it into two. One day Shmini Atzeret, one day Simchas Torah. The Mishnah teaches us that in the Amida prayer that we pray 3 times a day, Shacharit, Mincha, and Arvit, at the second blessing, when it starts with the words, Ato Giboy Le'olam Hashem, you are mighty, you are strong. One of the ideas which represents God's strength is the fact that he brings rain. So therefore, this is the place to praise him as the one who is responsible for rain. So we say always in the winter, at the beginning of the second prayer in Amida, we say, Mashiv Aruach Umorid Hageshem, causes the wind to blow and brings the rain. This is recited right in the opening line of the second blessing. Ato Giboy Lo'olam Hashem, God, you are mighty. Mecha Yemei Simat Rav Leishia, you are responsible for the resurrection of the dead. Mashiv Ruach Umoirid Hageshem, every single day throughout the winter, from Shmini Atzeret all the way till the first day of Passover, which is in spring. The opening of the spring is the time that we say that prayer. And when we introduce that prayer, we have a special additional prayers, all associated with the request for a healthy winter with good rain. That's called Tfilat Geshem. We actually say it by Musaf on the holiday of Shmini Atzeret in front of an open ark. The same is being repeated on the first day Passover. But instead of praying for rain, we are praying for dew. It's called Tfilat Tal, which is the more related, important, source of vitality during the summer, other than rain, which is in the winter. Nobody wants rain in the winter, so we pray for dew. And instead of saying Mashiv Ruach Umorid Hageshem, we say Morid Hatal. You are the one who descends Tal, dew. Matter of fact, I'm just taking a short parenthesis. Tonight is the 4th of December. And we don't only mention God's strength of bringing rain. In the regular Amida, not on some Saturday or holidays, but the regular Amida, when we have the 13 blessings of request, we have a special blessing for sustenance, which starts off with the word Barech Aleinu Hashem Elokeinu et Hashana Azot, bless us this year. And there we ask for Parnasa, for sustenance. In the winter, when we ask for sustenance, we say Vesein Tal Umator Livracha. Give us dew and rain for blessing. We ask for it. That ask for rain did not start right the time of Shmini, after Simchas Torah, because people were still traveling back from Israel after visiting the temple. They did not want to be bothered by rain. And here we have, again, I'm not going to go into the details, but we have a difference between Israel and everywhere else. In Israel, they began asking for rain the 7th day in the month of Cheshvan, which that was the average time calculated that everybody at that point already reached home who visited the temple during the holiday. In the diaspora, everywhere outside of Israel, we are asking for rain starting December 4th or December 5th. It depends on the leap year. But it actually goes according to the solar calendar, not the lunar calendar. And that's why we are counting December, not Kislev or Cheshvan, and so on. This has to do with the seasons, 60 days, the winter season, the whatever. Not important. For now, it's important, but not for now. So tonight, those who did not pray Arvit yet, remind yourself to stay, you switch from the summer prayer to the winter, the same Talumot or Librach. It's so critical that if you forgot, like me, who I davened Ma'ariv, and I forgot to, even though I thought about it a minute before Ma'ariv, only tells you me holding in life. A minute before Ma'ariv, I looked at it because I got several messages from different people reminding me that with the change of the prayers tonight. and I still forgot, then you have to re-pray the Amidah again. So, to make a long story short, tonight we begin to ask for rain. So there is mentioning rain, and then there is asking for rain. Mentioning rain is when we start Shmini Atzer. Tonight there's no special service called asking for rain. You just, in the regular Amida, you change from the same bracha to the same Talu Matali bracha.
And are we asking for rain for Israel, or are we asking for rain?
It's mainly for Israel, but that was one of the discussions in places which actually begin the summer, like Argentina, Australia. Will they also change tonight, or they will do it in April? And according to most halachic authorities, they will do it tonight too, because we have in mind mainly Israel, and that's where we're praying for. If Israel is okay, yeah, all okay. God forbid Israel is not okay. We see what's going on in the last year. It's all not okay. Let's hope for the best. So I want to read you one line from that prayer for rain. Hold on a second. Give me a cedar. Anybody wants tea or to have one, please help us. Don't be cheap on the water. Okay. So in that Musa prayer, something very interesting happens. We are beseeching God for rain, right? So our sages composed a prayer which we mentioned and we asked that in the merit of our father Abraham, of our father Isaac, of our father Jacob, of Moses, of Aaron, the 12 tribes, we are using different great personalities of so-called the family in order to advocate for us, for the entire community, to have rain. Every one of those members I just mentioned is actually described with something related to his life, which had to do with water. It starts up, remember Abraham, our forefather, who followed you like water, a water kind of runs. You blessed them like a tree planted beside streams of water. You protected them and you rescued them from the fire and from water. So Abraham comes to Yitzchak. So here it's very interesting. Remember Isaac, who was born after the good tidings at which it was said, let there be fit a bit of water. Basically, how was Isaac finding his wife? When Eliezer said, water. So you know the story with water. He was digging wells of water. Another story about Isaac. Moses, remember Moses, who was drawn out of the water. Aaron, the priest, the Bet HaMikdash on Yom Kippur immersed himself 5 times in water, sprinkled water. The 12 tribes brought across the split water, right? The Yam Suf. So we keep on using ideas and stories and content of our great patriarchs and the tribes, how they were all somehow saved and rescued and blessed in the contents of water. And we say, Betzitkom, and for their righteousness, favor us with abundance of water. This is what we pray every year. Beautiful prayer. Comes to Jacob. This is the center of tonight's class, our target tonight. What did it say about Jacob? Listen to that. Remember Jacob, who carried his staff and crossed the Jordan's water. This story you're going to come back next week. I'm going to read about it in Vayishlach. But he crossed water. Remember, he went back to take the... Number one. Number two, Yichad Leiv v'gol even mipi be'er mayim. He united his heart with God and rolled the stone off the mouth of the well of water. The story we just mentioned. Keneva kloi sar bolul me'eshu mayim. As when he wrestled with an angel composed of fire and water. And therefore, you promised them, we're going to be with them in fire and water. For his sake, altim namayim, do not hold back water. And you're reading this prayer, and you think to yourself, what happened? What happened over here? We understand that he crossed the Jordan. That was not an easy task. He was running away from Lavan, and he had his kids, and he forgot something, little jars. What is the big accomplishment of Yaakov that we say, Yichad Leiv, he had united his heart and he rolled the stone off? According to Rashi, it seems that Yaakov was actually a strong man. You know how old Yaakov was? I shouldn't say old because today it's not old. But Rashi, last week's Parsha, told us actually, last week, calculates and tells us that Yaakov, at the time that he left Beersheba, how old was he? Remember? 77. Young man, 77 years old, was going to find a shidduch. Anyone who thinks that being 77 or 80 is the end of life, Yaakov just began. Don't forget, 4 wives plus 12 kids. I wish you luck. That's the story of this expression. What should I tell you? I'm not making it up. The Rashi says he was 77. It was the end of last week's Parsha's Rashi. So you have a 77-year-old man, Yaakov, who is personifying strength, physical strength. So if it's physical strength, why would that be counted as credit? Yaakov, imagine, goes to the gym, lifts weights, strengthens his muscle, and is ready to roll off a rock, which a bunch of Charonian shepherds are not able to do. Right? This is called merit. This is called credit. He rolled off God. See what he did? He rolled off the rock. So for his sake, Donald Beck was, but he rolled off the rock. If I would go and exercise and build my body the way Yaakov did in the age of 77, maybe I would do it too. So we'd say in my marriage he should roll off water just because he was able to do it. What's the answer? Yes, could be he was physically possibly strong too. Obviously, if he's going on a mission now to build a family, he must have been physically capable and strong to start that journey of going to build a family. And as we actually see, he was working in the moral of Yaakov's work. He's actually qualified in Jewish law what is considered a real faithful employee. Yaakov describes what he did. Sleepless nights, in the frost, watching the sheep. He was working very, very hard and very faithful. He wasn't wasting the time while he was caring for his future father-in-law's sheep. He did well too. Baruch Hashem, his portfolio was growing with children, with more children, and wealth as well. When he comes back, as if you're going to go through this week's Parsha, he's a very accomplished man, Yaakov, in many, many areas. Financially, family-wise. He has a nicer family than his father and grandfather had, the Medrash points out. His grandfather had a beautiful son, Isaac, but he had a horrible boy called Ishmael. His father had a very nice son called Yaakov and a very bad son called Esau. And he was very proud to have an entire family, not just 12, and each one with a gem. Nothing was lacking in his family. They were all perfectly following the so-called the footsteps of the parents, and there was a tremendous opportunity for Yaakov. In the diaspora, forget about it, he wasn't even in the environment with his parents, with his grandparents. There was no bubbies to visit. Usually they blame the fact that if he would have had a grandfather, a grandmother, maybe the kid would behave better, they would know better. In Choron, there was no grandfather. Yeah, there was a grandfather. He tried to keep him away from his grandfather as much as possible. He is called, his name in public was Lavan the Deceiver, who wanted to associate with such a Zayda. Right? So what's the great deal that he rolled the stone off? Nachmanides actually, in his commentary to this Parsha, he points out something very important. He says that there wasn't just physical strength. First of all, it says the fact that the Torah tells you why is it important, this whole story with the stone. There was a stone, there were shepherds, they were waiting. Does that make any difference in regard to the very fact that he met Rachel? You want to say where he met her? He met her at a well. This whole scenario around the well, there's a big stone, and shepherds are waiting, and every day they gather, and he says to them, and then they said to him, and lo and behold, lifted up the rock. I mean, is the Torah trying to tell us that Yaakov was maybe impressing Rachel by saying, "Oh, look at me, I'm lifting up the rock like a man"? That's not Yaakov. That's not the Yaakov we know.
It's always a good woman behind all the men.
What do you mean?
What?
What do you mean?
The wives and the women.
She wasn't there yet. She wasn't his wife.
But he already knew.
Okay. Okay. Julia is there.
Yes.
What's going on there?
They're doing some kind of declaration.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, thanks again.
I think so. The declaration.
Okay. Anyway, so what's the point? So obviously, what we're discussing over here is not just his physical strength. We're talking a strength which was mentally and spiritually wanting to do something, feeling for the shepherds, understanding that something has to happen here, and that gave them the physical strength that was expressed by the lifting of the rock. It's like we always know, and we spoke about it a lot of times, when a person can lift up weights and he can run a certain X amount of miles, the very same person, God forbid, when he escapes a fire or when he's trying to save someone from a fire, he's able to double, triple that energy, which he himself never had assumed that he has. You know, millions of stories like that. When people look back at this and I can't believe I did it.
The adrenaline.
You call it adrenaline, you call it whatever you name it. It's all expressing the same idea. You want really to do something which you never had a chance to want something as much you wanted now. In the words of our sages, there's an expression, Ein davar haomed bifnei haratzon. Nothing can stand by your will. Nothing can stand by my will. You know how many things I wanted and I wasn't able to do it? What do you mean nothing can stand by my will? I guess there is one thing and there is one thing. When you want something with real passion, because you feel I need it and I can't be without it. I need to save the child out of the room. I need to escape. The fire is right burning behind me, God forbid. So then, so many limits, so many, barricades gets removed. It's carried away because you have a whole new nucleus energy which you didn't even know that you own, that you possess. This is called wanting something. We find it both in the positive and in the negatives too. I'm going to skip for a moment into next week's Parsha. And I remember once somebody showed it to me, and I said what I want. And I knew, I said I wanted it, but it didn't happen. They said, you didn't really want it. So you're telling me, I'm telling you I want it. So he says, you know what one thing is? And he asked me, I will never forget, what story in the Torah teaches you about someone who wanted something? There's a lot of stories in the Torah, but what story in the Torah represents someone really wanting something and he makes it happen? What comes to your mind?
David and Bathsheba.
Let's talk about the Bible, okay? I know you're going to trouble. Let's talk about the Bible. What story in the Chumash is a story of somebody wanting? All the stories that you think about, giving you a minute. Think about something that,
Wanting children?
you want the children who? Sarah and
Anna and Raphael.
They miraculously that they have children. I don't think they could have done more they could have done. I'm talking somebody who wanted and he did something to make his wanting happen. I don't know if Sarah did something. She actually, the opposite. And she was told she's going to have a child. She laughed it up, kind of. I don't think it's happening.
Prayed and asked.
Pray.
Pray for me.
What did she say? Prayer. I'm talking more than prayer. I'm talking taking action. Tell you in short. Next week's Parsha. Next week's Parsha, you're going to read a crazy story where it is, come ever see there. What? Next week's Parsha, there's a story about Shechem, the son of Hamor, who kidnaps and he wants Dinah. And what did the brothers tell him?
They have to get circumcised.
You have to get circumcised. And what did they do? They convinced an entire city. No, not the brothers. What did Shechem do? Because he wants, he convinces an entire city to be circumcised. That's called wanting. You want it so much that you are having the ability to take an entire city, thousands and thousands of people, and they all go through circumcision, and everyone is asking each other, why are you doing it? What do you mean? Shechem wants a group. So he won. He really wants it. He was able to demonstrate wanting to such a level that to have others, not him. He had others who had nothing to do with Dinah, and he wouldn't gain anything out of it. And it wasn't just forcing them circumcision or life. No, it was convincing them and seeing that here stands someone who really, really, really wants something so badly, and we got to make it happen. We got to help him. How are you going to help him? He wants a bris. Let's have a bris. Next thing you know, 3 days later, they fall into the trap. But that's what happened. You're going back to Yaakov. It wasn't that Yaakov was lifting weights or impressing Rachel, so the rock was uplifted. Yaakov wanted really to help the shepherds and to help Rachel and to make the shidduch to happen. He wanted something. And what does the Torah say? What's the prayer say? An expression that we don't find anywhere else. It says, Yichad Leiv. Yichad Leiv. He united his heart with God and rolled the stone off the mouth of the well of water. What does uniting your heart with God have to do with rolling the stone off? If it's physical might, then the Yichad Leiv is not what is important. Yichad Leiv means you concentrated your heart in a way that there is no other desire other than making it happen. And that became the lesson and the story and the credit that we are always repeating every year when we are beseeching rain. And we said, remember Jacob, God, the way he relied on you with such trust, with such bitachon, with such emunah, that he was ready to make it happen even when physically it shouldn't have happened. Perhaps something which needs so many shepherds to lift up shouldn't have happened automatically to what's his name, to Yaakov, but it happened because he really, really wanted it. And this teaches us obviously that a person has the ability just by the willpower to overcome limitations, like I said before. When there is a fire, someone who once wrote about the Rebbe, I saw an article. There was a rabbi in New York. He wasn't a Chabad rabbi. His name was Rabbi Simcha Elberg. He was originally from Poland, and he was the administrator, the director of the so-called organization, which is called Hakudat Rabbanim, the Artzot Habrit Canada, the unified organization of rabbis of the United States and Canada. Like Ramosha Feinstein was a member, he was the president of that organization. Other great rabbis, I'm sure that you heard, from the traditional and Orthodox community. It's an older organization. Rabbi Elberg, he was the administrator. He was himself a great Torah scholar. He wrote many books. And he used to come visit, maybe more frequent than others. He used to come visit the Rebbe, especially by Fabregens, by Hasidic gathering. And he wrote a few articles about Lubavitch, very nice articles through the years. I saw an article he wrote, Chabad during 6-Day War, but the Rebbe came out with a Tefillin campaign. Some nice articles in Hebrew and in Yiddish. There was a paper called in New York called the Allgemeiner Journal. I used to read it every Friday. Nice, they sold it for $1. And I read Yiddish was a first language for me. There wasn't too many Yiddish. My father-in-law used to get it over here in Seattle, then it was stopped. Rabbi Gershon, Jacobson, Simon Jacobson, Yossi Jacobson, the Jacobson brothers, the speakers, the authors. Their father used to give out that paper called the Allgemeiner Journal. He was a journalist. His name was Gershon Ber. So Rabbi Elberg used to write in his paper too from time to time. He wrote an article about the Rebbe. Very nice article, I remember, because it described the Rebbe, putting him in the context of the story of Yaakov rolling the rock. And he says, what is the secret of the Rebbe's success? Rolling out programs right and center and left and center, inspiring young couples to go travel in different, deserted locations with no family and no friends. What is it? Where is it coming from? So he used a very interesting perspective. He says the Rebbe lives in a state of urgency. He feels that there's a fire. There's a fire. And the fire is running through the city, and anything which we can should be saved. and protected because God forbid the fire comes and consumes and demolishes. So when the Rebbe has the state of urgency, so that's what he keeps on rolling out these programs and campaigns and sends people because he doesn't he doesn't view the world in the so-called limited sit back kind of perspective. Gonna happen, yeah, beseder, not today, tomorrow. It's not tomorrow. I don't want to lose another Jew. Every moment there's somebody not there to service. A Jew might need you. You might need a tefillin. You might need a bar mitzvah. You might need to be protected from marrying an non-Jew. Come on, come on, come on, get in, get in there, get in there. And because he's so fired up, so with his will, he's able to roll down those rocks. This is what happens to Yaakov.
I have a question.
Sure.
So is this moving of the rock and waiting for other shepherds to come and roll the rock off? Is that something that happened every day?
Oh, wow. Every minute of this.
So I don't understand the urgency. If more people were coming to help, like they do every day, why was it so urgent that Yaakov should move that rock?
Very good question. Oh, so you're asking a practical question.
Yes.
Every day they waited, let them wait now too. Very good. A good question. The answer is that the fact they were waiting every day is not really because they should have waited, because they didn't try to roll the rock. They got used to an habit that we are not trying. Wait, everybody else is going to come. And in meantime, maybe you're missing out some accomplished hours of work or other things you could have done. What are you sitting and waiting? Sitting and waiting is wasting time.
Right.
Why are you sitting and waiting? Because it's nothing is nothing is urgent, nothing is important. It's fine. We're gonna wait. Others are gonna come. We're gonna have together do it. But that's not the way of life. Somebody who understands that life has meaning and purpose. So if I can do it myself, let me do it. There's going to be other things I can accomplish in the times that I'm instead of sitting and waiting.
Mhm.
How many people like to wait in line, whether you're here to register your car or by a doctor or even in a Fred Meyer or in a Safeway? Why don't we like to wait? Because we want to do things.
I was
You
just
have to
comparing
be-
it to like saving someone from a burning building to waiting a few more minutes.
So if the world is not burning, which sometimes maybe it doesn't, so then it's okay. It's okay. But we do live in a world that every minute is too late for someone to be saved. It's a very crazy. I don't say that I live that lifestyle, but I know that that's where the Rebbe lived his lifestyle. Maybe he wants me to live that lifestyle. If I can, there are some. I'm sure some shluchim that they wake up in the morning with a state of urgency. What are we doing next? What are we doing next? They for sure don't wait for a telephone call. Somebody called me this morning from Boston. Their father had a stroke last Shabbat. It's in Holder Lake Hospital. The daughter lives in Boston. She was on my telephone. I spoke to them. What time was it? And the father is in his last moment, so to speak. Not moment, but the Bas of Shabbos he's not going to, he's already in comfort care, so to speak. So the call came, let's say, around 9 o'clock, okay, being exact. So I had other things to do. So I say like this, I'm going to come over there either between, I can come right now. I can come right now, I said, but they are not there. They were in Kirkland, hotel, whatever. I said, if you don't need me, I can come right now. If you want for me to be with you, so either between 11 and 11:30 or after 1:30. But I had a class. So they said 11:30 works better. I said, okay, I will see that that's going to work or that's going to work. I ended up going 11 o'clock. It worked out, Baruch Hashem. But I'm saying, this is a story from this morning. I didn't feel an urgency that I have to run. The reason I said 9 o'clock, because I was available. I was in the car, actually, I was driving down Belred Road. So I was closer to all the Lake hospitals. It would have actually worked out perfect. In the other end, by not going 9 o'clock right away, I was thinking, if I'm going anyway later, so I should bring with me a pair of tefillin. I don't know if the patient can put on tefillin, but maybe somebody else will be there of the family who's going to want to put on tefillin, which I did since it was already 11 o'clock. So I came back to the Torah Center. I picked up tefillin, the yarmulke, and then I went 11 o'clock with the tefillin, which I ended up putting on tefillin on the son-in-law who came from Boston, to put him on tefillin and to pray with them on behalf of his father-in-law. Urgency is a different level of conduct. Urgency is 1 second. I don't know. Now the person is alive. I got to run. Put everything aside. Let's try to be here and offer a prayer. Urgency means maybe I go every day to the hospital to see if somebody is in need. I mean, there's so many needs that don't even know. Maybe because we don't live in a state of urgency. The Rebbe is so behind this wall. The Rebbe was a Rebbe, he had a different level of fire. Sometimes there is a fire, you don't see it. That's the problem. What needs to be happening there? Just to mention, the Nachmanides also quotes a medrash. The medrash actually talks about there's a lot of what do you call it in English? Allegory in the medrash in regarding to the story of the well. If you have a chance to look at the medrash, a lot of interesting things is being brought into what did Yaakov see and what's the rolling of the stone. One of the medrashim that the Ramban brings is as follows. The well is something which has to do with the future. So it's not just a story of a well and a stone, like an unnecessary story. No. The Medrash says that the well or water represents the temple. Or Shalom, you into the temple. The well of water represents the temple, which is like the well, who is a source of life and nutrition. The temple was a source of energy and inspiration and knowledge. Kimitzion Teitze Torah, Udvar Hashem Yerushalayim, the word of God came in the temple. The 3 shepherds, says the Medrash, refers to the 3 pilgrimage holidays, Passover, Shavuot, and Sukkot, that become the flocks are being gathered to get water from the temple. The temple, the well, the Beis Hamikdash, as a rock, which is covered through the year and gets uncovered during the time of the holiday when people come to visit it. When the holiday ends, the rock is back, replaced until the next holiday. And this is what Yaakov is envisioning while he's involved with this temple. Yaakov sees there's going to be a point, says the Medrash, the temple, the well, has a rock, and the rock does not get moved. This is obviously the time of exile. One holiday passes by, and another holiday passes by, and the flocks are gathered around, and it's still there. It's difficult. So Yaakov, representing coming of Mashiach, will come and roll the rock off, roll it off in a way that it's never to be recovered again. And be open and energized. And this the Nachmanides looks at the story from another perspective, from another point of view, a point of well slash temple, water plus godly knowledge, three shepherds, the three holidays, the rock, and onward. So you see again, it's not just a story. It's a story with a lot of insight, and it alludes to even to the ultimate times. It's all part of the story of Yaakov and Rachel. So just a little taste of one small verse in this amazing Parsha Vayetze. Wishing you all luck in studying the Parsha. We should merit to see the rolling rocks, the rolling stones. What do you call them? I told Julia today, the secretary, she is here. I said, Julia, what's the topic? I said, I want to talk something about stones, the rolling stones, rolling off the stones. And this is for my age. This is, what are you talking about? Anyway, I see you all understand it better than me. Be well, everybody.